Have you ever failed at something, a goal, a dream, a desire, an outcome you were hoping for, and then you felt awful about yourself? The problem isn't with emotions, it's what you do with it, or you don't. Let's debunk the myth of failure. Welcome to Fluent in Life. My name is Elena, and here we talk about how to become fluent in life with tools of self-improvement, development, neurolinguistic programming, neuroscience, and psychology to live a better life. So today I want to debunk, reframe the myth of failure completely and show you how to use it as feedback instead of failure. So you finally can stop thinking that there is something wrong with you. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe and like this video so that more people can watch it and have better lives. Okay, so the main thing is that failure means feedback, okay? What I mean by this is that usually when something doesn't work or doesn't work out or doesn't give you a desired outcome, it means that the system needs adjustment. This also means that you are not the problem and that maybe the system that you created to achieve the outcome that you wanted to, maybe there were some gaps in the process. Maybe it was timing, energy, capacity, bandwidth, connections, technique, depending on what we're talking about here. Maybe there were some gaps and something didn't work. So it means that the sequence of steps that you took didn't work. For example, you were studying for a test, I don't know, IELTS or something, and you didn't get the result that you wanted, right? So instead of thinking, oh, I failed, I can never do this, you can look into this and see what was missing, right? Maybe you didn't practice the reading section long enough. Maybe you didn't practice the writing session for long enough. Maybe you didn't get any feedback from anyone, right? So maybe a good idea would be to work with someone who can prepare you for the IELTS test, right? And be receptive to feedback. Again, it's not failure, it's feedback. Or maybe if you want to lose weight and this is not happening, something needs to change. Something is not working out for you. So maybe you need to review your diet with a nutrition specialist. Maybe you're allergic to some things, to some food items, and you don't know about it. So your body keeps accumulating it instead of losing the weight, right? And if you want to gain muscle or strength and you've been pretty consistent with your workout routine, but you see no results, then something is not working. There are some gaps in the process that need to be reviewed and adjusted. So maybe talk to a personal trainer, I don't know, watch some videos online, depending on the situation, and see if it's the diet, if you're getting good sleep, if you're exercising correctly, if you need to adjust your technique, etc. It doesn't mean that now you need to think, oh, exercise doesn't work. No. If it works for other people, but not for you, there are some gaps there or some steps that are not bringing you to the same result as them. Did you actually know that October 13th is an international day for failure? Started in Finland and in a university where students were encouraged to share stories of failure, to normalize it, because there's so much stigma on the topic of failure, right? Because it makes people feel ashamed of themselves. But the moment you dissociate the action, the outcome, the result from your identity, because failure or feedback does not determine your identity. Your identity is one thing, and things that happen to you throughout the life is another thing. So the idea here is that you can't expect a different result if you keep doing the same thing all over again. If you keep the same routine, same environment, same people you surround yourself with, same energy level, etc. Because, for example, what year was it? 2019, I decided that I want to go and travel, okay? Never done this before solo. And I was also curious about the idea of working online and having my own business, etc. So I thought, how can I make this happen? If you haven't watched my video with the 2 transformational questions, watch it, because it's going to be life-changing. So I didn't know where to start. One thing I knew was that if I kept living in the same environment, surrounded by the same people, being at the same job, etc., I knew that that would not bring me anywhere. So I thought, okay, so what can I do here? I started looking up online some co-working, co-living spaces where digital nomads hang out. So I went and volunteered in this super cool facility in Germany, where I was one of the community managers. It was a structure where people co-work, co-live together. And so that was the stepping stone for me to change the environment, whether it's people, different mindset, mentality, lifestyle, etc. Because I wanted to be surrounded by people who are driven, ambitious, motivated, go-getters, right? So that decision brought me, well, it expanded my horizons, right? Because if you live your life in the same bubble year over year over year, you get used to the idea that that's the only reality, the only dimension, the only representation of the world that exists out there. But if you expose yourself to different type of people with different mindset, mentality, lifestyle, ambition, etc., it broadens your horizon and opens your mind. So back to my example from 2019, I kept experimenting, and before starting this channel, because I hear from some friends saying, "Oh, you're a natural on the camera." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. You don't know how many projects failed as well. I have tried in the years before 2025 when I started this channel. And it was a gradual exposure and gradual growth and comfort level when being on the camera. So if my goal was to work online, right, you gotta start somewhere. So what is the first small thing that you start doing that can get you closer to that, right? And if something doesn't work, you look at the process and see what is missing, okay? Another example comes to mind: musicians, people who play music. If you want to learn a specific melody, but you keep getting the wrong note, and you keep getting the wrong note, you're not going to play the piece in a correct manner. Make sense? Same in life. If you want A, but you keep doing B, the result is not going to change. So you need to look at this objectively and see what needs to be changed or improved so you can get a different result that you want. And one big little tip: if the sense of failure blurs a lot with your identity, one thing you can do that is super helpful is to dissociate yourself from it. So one example can be, one technique, one idea can be that you almost imagine that you're stepping outside and you look at yourself sitting here on this chair, feeling ashamed or feeling judged or feeling disappointed. Okay, so here we're dissociating ourselves from the identity that we think we are, because again, it's not identity, it's just something that happens. So you can observe the part that is judging, or you can also observe an emotion that comes up. Okay, so this helps you dissociate yourself from the emotion, from the feeling of judgment, criticism, disappointment, etc., that you have towards yourself. So once you have done that, the next step is get curious. Okay, I think curiosity can be such a lifesaver, honestly. So instead, you can ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I do in a different way? Someone maybe can help me with this. So instead of asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Please don't. You ask yourself, what needs to change? Support, method, delivery, people, what is it? Also, a big reminder, ask yourself, is this aligned with the life season I'm in? Because if you haven't watched it, in one of my videos, I walk you through a process to determine what life season you're in. Very important. And also ask yourself, is this goal or outcome that I want too big for my capacity? If it is, what's something smaller that you can do? Maybe someone can help you with something or recommend resources to make it more manageable. So again, I want to normalize falling off the course and talking about things that don't work out. Let's normalize this. This is life. The thing with social media is that they show you a perfect life, which is not realistic. I guarantee you, if you go and talk to people and they hear their life story, I'm sure you will think, oh my God, I'm glad my life is so much better and I didn't have to go through what they had to go through. It's only because we don't know people's stories, because they don't share it. We just see a perfect idealized world that we compare ourselves with, but that's in another video. So let's normalize the idea of falling off. Approach it from a place of curiosity and experimentation. So instead of perfectionism, I have to get this thing right from the first try, to, oh, I'm curious if this will work out. Oh, this is gonna be an experiment. So here we have the playful element that reduces the tension, the pressure, and expectations from yourself. And I think that is key. So to close it off, failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the feedback loop. If you treat setbacks as information and not identity, you stay in the game. And that is something what matters the most, because it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it. So please be kind to yourself and remember that you're learning, not failing. For more, I recommend you read a book by Dr. Carol Dweck called Mindset. Absolutely one of my top favorites. It's such a life changer, game changer. I will be covering it a little bit in one of my next videos. And remember that sometimes we win and sometimes we learn. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.